I've tried to make different styles of videos, and I've noticed that the ones where I just kind of go off of what I feel seem to be the ones that are most enjoyable for me. And they seem to be the ones that help out a lot more people. I think sometimes when I follow a structured route, it can feel too tight. And then when I try to read, I just hate it. So I'm going to just do more videos where I go off of what I feel, because I had these ideas about writing or making a video about Jacob and Esau, and I've been thinking about that for the past week. And then I just kept reading. I read about 10 lectures of Neville that I've found so interesting, but something that just kind of was pressing on my mind today was fear, and something that I've heard a lot from people in the comment section and people on my one-on-one conversations. I've noticed that there is this reoccurring nightmarish type of thinking, and I want to address it more from a different angle that I've learned from Neville, because I'm somebody who has a lot of experience with, having really terrifying imaginal thoughts. And it's something that has plagued my existence, my inner existence, for a long time. I would create really disastrous thoughts, and to be honest, just the same way if you were to think about many of the things you love, you might get 4 or 5 of them, as Neville said. Imagine 10 things you love a day, and maybe you get 8, but you're not going to complain because you might not even realize the other 2, because you're feeling that you've received most of what you want. You might not even realize it. Same thing happens for fear. I would imagine 30 fearful things in a day, and some will show up, and I can't deny my own involvement in my own fearful harvest, my own nightmarish of a harvest. I have to see that I actually was, my own hand was involved in this, and I did imagine it. And, just to give a scripture, because I do find Neville to be a biblical teacher. I don't find him to be a law of attraction. I guess I never really associated him with that group. I found Neville just strictly biblical. And it's a very simple scripture. It just says, have no fear of sudden disaster. And the Lord will be your confidence. And I found that it was interesting how it was linked with confidence. So we had fear and confidence. But I want to take a different approach that I've learned from Neville's work. Neville's work is very, it's from the gospel. So it's very much about forgiving sin, and it's a redemption style of living, and it's about redeeming oneself from a fallen state, or you've tripped and fell into a state you don't like, or you contemplated on fear for a long time and things started happening. What I've noticed on these talks that I've had is that one could feel very trapped inside of one's imagination, and these disasters where it feels like things are going out of your control. To me, it's really just, I really believe an imagination that's filled with fear is simply void of love. And I think that what we try to do is we try to fight our fears, and we try to maybe prove them wrong by, let's say if I'm afraid of talking on a mic, I'm going to do a YouTube channel talking on the mic. And we can think that that is overcoming the fear, but I haven't found that to be that successful. There are certain fears that have plagued me, and they were very difficult to remove. And I didn't quite know what to do. I thought that maybe if I could shove it to the side and, push it under the rug, that it would eventually disappear. But just like anything else in life, if you just push things under the rug, it's just going to build up. So that didn't help me either. But what I took was from Neville's work was to redeem it with love. Is that when you imagine fear, what you're actually doing is you're persuading yourself the same way you would with something good. Everything in the inside is self-persuasion. It's not about the outside. The outside is very factual based. I'm wearing a watch right now, and the watch is telling me the actual time. But inside, that there's not really, a watch doesn't matter. It's not really necessary for me to have a watch on the inside. And so the inside, the nature of this world is more deceptive. It's about making an imaginal scene a reality. And I've noticed that when I would fear myself or when I would scare myself, I was very good at taking an image and or use this image making ability inside to create an image of that felt real to me, that felt fearful to me, that actually scared me, and it deceived me just the same way Jacob deceived Esau. Maybe I'm just going to bring this in, is that in the world of Esau, this outer life, we don't need to be deceived or are persuaded. Things are the way they are. But in Jacob's world, or on the inside of us, it's about deception. And if I could get you to see that the thing you are right now, you were persuaded to be, you would start to persuade yourself to be something else. But you have to first see that the state you're in, you were persuaded by something or someone. You eventually took a bite and believed in the state. You started to feast upon this idea of yourself. But when you are scaring yourself inside, because you're very good at making these fearful thoughts so real to you, because you're good at that, you're simply not redeeming these things with love. You're keeping them there in fear. And when you apply love to these areas instead of fear, which would be compassion or any kind of antidote that involves the spectrum of, or any kind of love, anything loving, doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it's something loving, because trying to overcome your fears by force, you might overcome it, but you're not left with any love. You didn't gain much love. You might have reduced some anxiety, but even then you might doubt yourself, and there you go again, feeling fear again. But when you redeem things with love, it's more permanent. It relaxes you better. It's more at ease. And again, or for example, if you have sin inside that is causing you frustration, forgiving it is more easy. It puts you in a more relaxed state than it would be to try to force sin out of your life, or force, by sin, I mean missing your mark. I do think that life is subjective in a large sense. So I can't tell you what, your morals should be. Hopefully you can create a good morality, but you shouldn't, if you've done something that was against your own moral code, then, and that causes you fear, I would try to redeem yourself with love. Try to see that you're fearing yourself inside. You're actually scared. You're the thing that is scary. The most scariest thing to you is yourself. And that's what I've noticed in one's imagination. They are the most frightening thing, because they can create the exact fear. They can create an image that is so powerful, it's so vivid that it can cause the person to be deceived by it and believe in it. And the next thing you know, they're terrified. But you have to see that your imagination is not scaring you. It's always revealing to you. It's revealing what you're afraid of. It's revealing what you need to redeem. When fears pop up, I think about redemption with love instead of avoidance or fighting it, or, it's about creating a different image that you love. And when you find yourself in fearful positions inside, it's realizing that the imagination is not doing that so that it can create this in your life so that you can have a miserable life. It's showing you what you're scared of. It's showing you what's left to be redeemed in you. And the only way, the antidote that I found to fear is love. And love obviously is something that you're going to have to discover in you and how you want to apply that. But I'm sure you can figure that out. But it's not common that we apply love to our fears. We try to do anything else but I found love to be the antidote. And I found that from Neville's work. Now that might not sound that, how should I say, it doesn't sound too magical. It's actually kind of basic, but it is something that I found useful from Neville's work. His mystical work really intrigues me because I don't quite understand it sometimes, and I love when I don't understand things like that. But with this, I learned that it's useful to see it this way, to always see things in a redemptive attitude instead of seeing it as a damning attitude. So then you start to utilize this ability to deceive oneself for your not just redemption, for your glory, for the life you want, instead of for your own demise. So the imagination is like an image making tool. It's almost like a tool to create images, or to create a certain image of oneself. It's all about image making. So when you're making a fearful thought, you're making this image fearful, and you're believing in it, and then you become it, or then you experience that. the image making ability doesn't go away. You're just directing it towards love or towards fear, which you now need to direct it towards things that you love. You need to create images that you love. That's really what you need to do. And you need to start redeeming yourself inside. That's all that is in there. And every thought is deceptive in a sense. And you may think of a horrific thing and you might you might feel frightened, but you have been deceived. You've been deceived by making that thought persuasive enough by adding colors of reality, feelings, or implications, and then you believe it. But you're self-scaring, and you're painting these nightmares that feel real. And if you can see yourself, you can see that you scare yourself with thoughts, you have the power of self-deception. But utilize that to your benefit and not to your demise. And so the imagination is always revealing to you something about you, what you're scared of, what you don't want to happen. You might be hyper-focused on what you don't want to happen. Well, then start focusing on things you would love to happen, what you love. Just don't be so convinced by fear's grip and don't be so convinced. Don't be so deceived so quickly. Don't be gullible inside and just believe everything that's fearful. And start to apply the ability to believe in what you love. That's essentially how we start to change our lives, because that's the redemptive attitude of one's imagination and of oneself. So I don't think it's about force or effort, or because that teaches to me that you need to earn something. I haven't found that's in the world of Esau. You have to earn your money in Esau's land. But in Jacob's land or inside of ourselves, it's not like that. It's about deception. It's about image making. It's about having the ability to create anything you want. That's why you need a direction, because you can create anything. You can create evil. You can create hate. You can create all these horrific things. But knowing that you can do that, you now have to go towards what you actually love, and you can personalize it to you. But that is why not all things are beneficial inside. And now it might be beneficial in the sense that it led you to where you need to go, but remaining there, remaining in shame, remaining in fear, I don't find that to be the most helpful thing, the most beneficial thing. It's best to learn to redeem oneself with love. And how that looks is by starting to create the image, use this image-making ability to create images that you want or that you love, instead of the ones that you fear. And then you start to overcome your fear with love. And that is simply a process of repentance in this case, or Neville called it revision. You don't have to make every thought perfect, because that sounds like efforting to me. You have to make images that you love. You have to make thoughts that you love. Don't worry about if it's going to happen or not. Just create it. You don't have to be so concerned with this attachment to this outcome. You have to always think of it as the imagination is expressing. It's something that always happens, regardless of whether you want it or not. And you can prove this if you imagine fearfully for 30 days. Actively, consciously imagine fearful things and hateful things of yourself and see how life starts to work. Now, I wouldn't recommend that, but I would recommend it in the reverse, to start inward. So it's as within, so without. Ask yourself if that's true. Really question all these things. Is this really true? And if it is, let me see if I can test it. Let me start testing it by creating in me things that I love. And let me sustain the things that I love within me. And the more I go towards that, the more I will habitually live in those states of mind that I want to be in. Because I will always want to go towards love. And so if you find yourself like me going towards fear, it's always being revealed to myself what I need to redeem. Not what I need to be afraid of, but what I need to redeem. I might be scared of it, but I should take a redemptive attitude towards the things within me that are in sin or in fear, however you want to call it. That's my attitude that I've taken from Neville's work. I hope that helped with sort of giving you an idea, and that you can contemplate on that and think about it longer. Maybe you can come up with your own branch and create your own fruits from this idea of redemption. But it has been a very powerful attitude adjustment that I need to take towards fear within me. Again, Neville's work, to me, it's all redemptive. Everything about it from start to finish is about redemption, in all cases, big and small. And the story is that the immortal became mortal so that the mortal could become immortal, and so that life became death so that death can become life. It's this mystery of the divine becoming the non-divine and changing the non-divine to divine, so that all there is divine. And that is that God became man, that man may become God. That is the redemptive story, but it encapsulates all things, not just the big things, and not just the idea of life itself, but also the things within life. And that includes you. And so you have to start to redeem yourself instead of creating more punishments and creating more fears and putting yourself in states that will be at your own demise. Essentially, you're going to create a harvest you're not going to want to reap. But if you can go towards love and start to change the image of yourself as you are always doing, I'm sure you'll create a life that you love. And it's cleaning the inside of the cup so that the outside may be clean. So we start from the inside out. And when you go inside, you might be hit with fears. But take the attitude of redemption instead of avoidance or running away. It will help you. And if you're interested in my talks, I do one-on-ones. And if you want more information, it's in the description. You'll get an automated message if you email it, giving you all the details of it. I appreciate you guys listening, and I hope that helps.